Hey, there we go.
All right. And we are live. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody.
Happy Friday.
Welcome to Happy Friday. When you come in, please leave your name if you leave a comment so we can know who you are. Today, we are talking about the miseducation of the church when it comes to
Touchy.
yes, when it comes to like dating and relationships and things like that. um, so yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited to hear people's viewpoint on this. So I can see that people are watching, but I cannot see who you are. So say
So
hi,
tell us your name in the comment
please,
in case
please,
it
please,
says
please,
Facebook,
please.
in case it just says Facebook user.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to see if I can see on my phone. Hello, people. Come on in. Come on in.
Welcome to your Friday night.
Oh, the great
Mr.
Stephen.
Dukes, it's good to see you. Sort of.
Yeah,
Good to have you here.
it is always good to have the great Dukes here. Um,
Hopefully the great Mrs. Dukes is there.
yeah, we'll see.
Whatever.
We'll see. We'll see. You know, hopefully Dukes is on our side this week.
What do you mean?
No more betrayal. When we did our verses, you got a couple votes from my boy.
But
So.
that's not betrayal. That's me winning around and picking a better song. Just like you picked some better songs than I did. You even got a vote from me on a song.
There you go, always trying to be technical and correct and stuff. So irritating. But next week, please tune in. We have a very, very special episode. Not that all of them are special, but
We have a very special guest.
There you go. We have a very special guest next week. We have a Christian sexologist, which I know sounds like a oxymoron, but it's not. A Christian sexologist who was really, really good. And so the episode was pre-recorded, but we'll play it live so we can kind of interact with you guys. And then at the end, there will be a special announcement of something that we have coming up that we feel like will bring lots of value to your marriages and your relationships and some of the things that a lot of us as married couples are dealing with. So yes, so make sure you tune in. I mean, as y'all do most of the time.
I'm super excited.
Yes, I'm super excited too.
I am.
Super excited too. So usually I wait for people to come in, but I can't see who's here, and so for the sake of the watch back, we will just dive into the conversation, even if it's just me, you, and Dukes.
That's okay.
If you see me looking to the sides, I have my receipts today. I have notes today, so don't think I'm freezing up but not paying attention. I just got them receipts.
I have some notes too, so you'll probably catch me kind of looking down as well.
Anyway, you see how
hater.
Nobody mentioned that until your boy said something. But
You a hater. Hey Phil, hey Pam.
Pam, what up? Good to see y'all in the sense.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. So, miseducation of the church when it comes to relationships. What are we talking about? So for me, my perspective growing up in the church that I grew up in, and for me, growing up is a loose term, 16 to 19. But I feel like these are prime years for what we're talking about. When it came to dating and things of that nature, I think the only thing I was taught was like Christians don't date, we court. And I was always like the jerk of youth group, like, bro, that's the same thing. Um, and so, and then it was always like, when you date somebody, you want to marry her. Now, as a 16-year-old guy that was still had his foot in the streets and doing different things, like I wasn't trying to date to marry nobody. Like that was the last thing on my mind. The honeymoon part, sure, but like dating and committing somebody wasn't on my mind. Um, and I know a lot of people who have had that experience, and so for me, it kind of led to, even when I got married to this lovely specimen that you see before you. Um, I think, I mean, I thank God that I did it, but I think that I rushed into it a little bit because it was like, oh, she's Christian and she's attractive, so we must be meant to be together. I mean, those weren't like the only reasons, but those were a large part of what um, kind of spurred, other than the fact that we were smashing and wasn't supposed to be, and we both kind of came to the conclusion like, well, we either need, it's like we're gonna marry or we're gonna burn. And I'm grateful to God and a lot of y'all out there that are watching, good friends that like have held our marriage up and has been a success. But I know so many people who aren't that fortunate and have gone through divorce or are miserable like within their marriage, or want to get a divorce but can't because they have a ministry to uphold. And if you get divorced and you're in ministry, your life and people around you seem to crumble. And so, at least for me, I kind of just wanted to touch on that and then have you all kind of call up, so to speak, or come on live and just kind of tell your experience and how, wow, that was me 23 years ago. Facebook user who, hold on, let me see if I can see it on my phone. Oh, Shani, yes. And just your experience and what that leads to. And I know Siobhan's experience is different, and I'm just gonna make one last point, baby, then I'll let you go.
No problem.
For me, I think the way I learned about and the way I've heard about relationships and dating in church. I mean, for those who don't know, I was a rapper for a little while, so I've gone to all types of churches across the country and have heard my fair share of sermons about everything. But in relationships, it usually comes down to, are you both Christian? which I think is important. Hey, y'all, love y'all. We love you too, Shawnee. Um, what was I saying before I was telling Shawnee I love her?
Are y'all both Christian when it comes
Sorry,
to?
yeah.
Mhm,
Basically, like, are you both Christian, the whole unequally yoked? And then are
mhm.
you being pure? And that was pretty much the extent of what I was taught and what I've heard taught about marriage. It's not like are we equally yoked in the sense of faith? When we actually look at that scripture, it means so much more. Are we equally yoked when it comes to intimacy? Are we equally yoked by how we feel about money? Are we equally yoked about um, a lot of things? How we're going to raise our children? Um, are you a spender? Am I a saver? How does that work? I'm a creative. Are you gonna, like, what are our roles gonna be in marriage? We kind of don't, or I've never heard it like that. I know Siobhan's experience was slightly different. And so I
Oh,
let her
thanks.
tell her experience. But what I want to say is I love the church. Let me put that out there first. This is not a church bashing session. It's just when I talk to a lot of people in relationships, whether they're good and mostly bad, honestly, like it all kind of comes back to, well, man, I was in church and I wasn't taught about blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. And so what I want to talk about is you all's experience. And is that the church's job? Like the church
Valid
kind of
question.
has a niche, like it's a church. So they're supposed to teach you about, faith and things like that. And so, babe, go ahead and tell like your experience and how you feel. And as usual, if you want to be on the show or want the link to come on, just say something in the comments and we'll call you up so you can speak your piece.
Yeah, I'm super interested to hear other people's experiences. But for me, um, like you said, when I was a teenager, like in youth church, right? And at that point in high school, you start getting interested or you are interested in the opposite sex. And you might bring those people to church and, have your pastors meet them, family, whatever. And so the goal is always like, well, is this person a believer? Like you said, so I would say specifically in the true church I grew up in, I don't feel that they pushed marriage really hard, but I also left that church at 18 when I moved away to college. So, you got to kind of take that. I do feel church as a whole, um, I feel that we do make a really hard push for marriage, which I think is good. But I think sometimes we push it so hard on everybody that we don't kind of celebrate people where they are when they're not married. And then also we push it so hard. It's like get married, get married, get married. I don't think the church adequately prepares people for what marriage actually is. Uh-oh.
You're good.
Oh, I my StreamYard stopped. My link stopped. It went away.
Oh, well, we see you and
Oh,
you're,
you can see me. Okay, so I'll just keep talking.
yeah.
I don't feel like the church completely prepares people for like exactly what marriage is. Even like the consistent thing that I've heard. Dre and I didn't do premarital counseling. Now I have, sorry, technical issues. But there we go. Dre and I didn't do premarital counseling, at least not in an official capacity. But the consistent thing that I've heard is that premarital counseling did not prepare us for what marriage actually was, and that was done in the church. Um, so yeah, I guess that's a kind of roundabout answer. But I do think that like the entire goal, one of the goals is to get married. That's like one of the end games. Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry.
There we go.
Yeah, no, my bad. So what things in our marriage, what are some things that you wish you would have learned that are specifically like in the Bible, I guess? Um, we also don't create a space in church for people to meet and get to know others in church and premarital counsel at our church and not prepare us. So I would love to have you on, Dukes, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
Just
like we
more,
didn't do premarital counseling, so I don't know like exactly what it entails. Because people say like, "Oh, it didn't prepare us," and I'm like,
yeah.
"What did y'all do?"
I'm against premarital counsel, but that's for another episode. So I won't go back and forth on that. But yeah, so were there certain things that like you wish you had known about marriage that you didn't know um, about marriage that you wish you had learned at church,
Um,
or not really?
so I wish that people had said like what I tell people when they get married is that this is like your best friend and you're gonna love this person, but there are also gonna be days where you look at them like, why did I do this? Like what's going on? And like that's normal and that's okay and that's something to work through. I don't think that anybody said like you're gonna have some rough days. And that's just part of marriage and that's just part of like living with somebody else. The becoming one, absolutely the hardest thing, and like what that actually looks like practically, not just like in the marriage bed, but just what becoming one looks like as a couple. I feel like that was
Shiny, sorry, babe. Shiny and Duke,
it's okay.
check your messenger inboxes. if you want to come on.
So that might be my answer right there. Like a practical way to become one is some things to look out for. Because I had never lived with a man before I lived with Dre,
And you never
so that
will.
was surprising.
No, I got you. So I that was surprising. So I do think this is one thing, even at my holy church that I go to now. I think that one of the things that I always found weird about church is like we always put like girls with girls and guys with guys. And I always fight against that. Like, this is probably the only place on planet Earth. Like, you need to, like, when they hear about sex everywhere else on the planet, they're around the opposite sex when they hear it. Like, obviously, there are some things that you want to be, if women talking about menstruating and all that other kind of stuff, then I understand that. But I think from like an aspect of just even broaching the subject, I'm like, have you heard their music? Like, it's just weird to me because I feel like we're
Right.
always like, I just feel like the church kind of teaches from a defensive standpoint of like, don't get pregnant and don't do this. And if you spend too much time, you may not have sex the first time, but and it's like, are you dating her to marry her or just a date? And it's like, I'm 14. Like, yes, I'm dating her to marry her, sir. So you can get out of my face. I just think it's unrealistic. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's not our job to police. It's our job to plant a seed. It's not necessarily our job to make people do anything. Dukes, how are you, sir?
I'm good, everybody. How are you guys?
Hello, you are multitasking.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
Please,
my apologies.
are you driving right now?
Am I what?
Are you driving or are you riding in the car?
No, I'm driving, but I'm okay. I don't have the phone like it's propped up. I'm good.
Hey, so you're
Okay.
not listening like guests and stuff.
No, I
Thank
just
you for
want him to
calling
be
in, Dukes,
okay.
while you're riding home. Thank you for tuning in while you're riding. So how do you feel? Because we've had several conversations about this.
Well, so I think I missed the last whatever phrasing was. I think I caught like premarital counseling. That was the last thing I caught.
Okay, we can go from there.
So
I guess. Go ahead.
no. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So for my wife and I, our premarital counseling experience wasn't um, because we were both leaders in our church. I think a lot of stuff got kind of like skipped over because it was like, oh, y'all gonna be fine. And we got married kind of in a space where we were both kind of settled as adults. We had jobs and lives already. So I think there was like this uh, expectation that we would just be okay. So there was a lot of things that didn't discuss, like specifically like intimacy and what that was supposed to be like, and like I don't know, just like the practical parts of marriage. We just got a lot of like the broad strokes, and I would have loved to have more like depth. And if I could do it again, I would have like invested and like went to like a psychologist, psychiatrist, doctor for premarital counseling instead of like doing it necessarily at a local church level. And I mean, personally, I think there's tons of value in counseling, and my wife and I have gone to like a doctor for counseling, and it's been great. So I will stop there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, no, I definitely agree. So how did you? Because I think from what I know, you were in church at least from a teen, right?
Yeah, I've been in church my whole life. Like I was the president of the youth group, and I was a youth pastor for a couple of years after that. So I was a music director. I've only ever been in church.
Hmm.
Okay, Siobhan just wants to know what the holy Zena Wallace is talking.
with the holies in. Oh, she's watching. Okay. Um,
So, dude, what would you say? How did you in church? How did you learn about dating? Like, what were you taught? Whether it's the church or like,
So it's interesting because I have like three different stages of what I was taught. So in my younger life, I attended a church, and my mom was the youth pastor, and her thing was no dating, no boyfriends, no girlfriends. So when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to even have phone calls from girls until I turned 16. Like that was a rule of the house. So it was just no, you shouldn't date. Then when you turn 16, you can date. And at the church that we were attending at the time, I mean, like having a boyfriend or girlfriend was like an okay construct. Like there wasn't a big deal. And then I transitioned to a different church probably towards the end of high school. And in my new church, they had more of a African traditional culture about like dating, whereas like you didn't date at all. Like there was courtship, and then that was it. So you didn't do like the boyfriend and girlfriend thing. And so there were a lot of couples who were from like Africa and other countries where there was no courtship. It was like you brought a dowry to the parents of the bride, and she said yes or no, and then the courtship was the engagement process. And so that was the teaching at my church for a while, up until I probably got into my 30s. And so it was just a very ambiguous thing to kind of navigate as far as what dating was actually supposed to look like.
okay,
mm, yeah. So
so
how? So I feel like you say like that definitely didn't prepare you.
Not
Not
even
at
a
all.
little bit.
Right. That definitely didn't prepare you. So like I understand like you got premarital counseling at church and you feel that maybe like a doctor or a psychologist, psychiatrist would have been better. Um, in your opinion, do you think one, it's the church's job to do the premarital counseling? Because like you're probably getting counseled by the pastor or some leader on staff. More than likely, they have more theology degrees than they do degrees in psychology or something like that. Like so do you feel that like that's the church's job or like
Well,
it's just a kind of a letdown either way?
no. I think the church is supposed to supplement, but I don't think that they can provide all of the counsel that you need. I mean, it's kind of like everything else in life that you have to do. I mean, if your church has a gym and you go work out at the church's gym, maybe you can get in shape, but it's not going to be the same as somebody who was trained to train. Now, if you happen to be fortunate enough to have a trained trainer at your church, then that's different. And so, like some pastors have degrees in like they may have a PhD or a doctorate and be qualified to counsel. So I don't want to say that. And I even think for us, my wife and I's situation was very particular only because we were leaders in the church. And I think that if we had not been in leadership already, that we would have gotten more thorough counsel. But it was like our lives projected a certain level of accountability already, so some stuff probably got skipped.
So if you don't want to answer this, that's fine. You said that you got broad strokes and you didn't get some things in depth. So what were the broad strokes that you got and what were the things that you wish that had been covered?
Well, I mean, like we had a lot of conversations about like finance. Well, not lots. What I say is we had like broad conversations about like finance and money and like we're two people we're now becoming one, and it was like I don't know. It was very from my remembrance. This was like 5 years ago. It was kind of vague, and I just I would have loved to have more substance. Like I would have loved to dig in and like really talk about like so for example, my wife and I don't have children yet, and so I'm a homeschool kid. My wife's a teacher. So are our kids going to go to homeschool or are they going to go to school? Like that would have been a great conversation to be able to flesh out with somebody before now, because that, like,
Mm-hmm.
what does childbearing look like? What does rules look like for? Um, I grew up extremely traditional on certain things, so I'm like, no tattoos, we don't smoke weed, we don't blah blah blah. And then maybe my wife is a little less conservative about those same constructs. So like being able to talk through, like, I mean, for real, smoking weed is legal now. So how do we feel about that? Like, those would have been great conversations to have, like, before we got married.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I think that the biggest one, the biggest misstep for us, I would have loved to have had more conversations about, like, intimacy and like what that was really supposed to be, because most often churches, they kind of tell you, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. Okay, now you're married, have all the sex, but no one tells you how, what, where, when, and like what that's really like. You're kind of on your own to figure that out.
Yeah.
Agree. No,
Agreed.
I agree. So, well, our audience obviously doesn't know um, Dukes as well as I do. So, Dukes, why? So, I'll make a statement and then I'll ask you a question. So, marital counseling was never in my plans, but I know, like, if you were to bring up or the mere thought of going to like a secular counselor or doctor or anything like that, it was like that's evil. Like you need to go see somebody who's Christian. And so you're a person who's always like you don't have to do things the Christian way. So what made you not go see like a regular doctor and go see somebody in your church?
Well, initially I didn't know any better. Like, I didn't know that I had other options. So, after being married was where I found out that there are like faith based practices where there's like doctors you can go say that at least have the same foundational principles, but are trained clinical physicians with
Mm-hmm.
mental health. And so I think if I had a known, and like in black church culture, we just don't we pray everything away, or everything's a
Yeah.
spirit, everything. And so like, sometimes it might be a chemical imbalance or like something else. So just
Yeah.
like if I got a headache, I might need to take Tylenol. But if I keep getting headaches, maybe I need to go see a doctor and figure out what's going on, or even just for like checkup's sake. Like, I treat mental health the same way, and like that was a turn that I made maybe in my 30s, and it was a big pivot in my life. Um, I think everybody should. I think everybody should go see. Put your feet up on somebody's couch. It helps.
Amen. Amen. So Siobhan, so something he said was very interesting. First, I want to point out, Shawnee, that is all facts. Kind of, because I've been on both sides. I've been the guy who was introduced at a church, and I've been the youth pastor. So true. My grandma just had this conversation. Yeah. So I do. So yeah. I thought what you said was important about we get taught not to date or no sex, and then we get married, have all the sex. So Siobhan, as a female, thank God, who grew up in the church, um, what did you have a similar, I guess, experience when it came to like dating the people that you went to? Because I believe when we first met, I met your youth pastor, so I know you guys were uh,
Yeah. So
relatively close.
it's definitely um that's a similar thing where in our church uh it, we were taught not to have it, and understandably so. um I don't remember in our church that genders were as divided. We just didn't do it, or maybe it was just something that we didn't do. So it's not like we were never around the opposite sex. We were definitely around them having those conversations, but just kind of like someone in the comments said, like if you bring somebody you like to church, they're definitely getting third degree from
Uh,
everybody who thinks,
Connie,
they're a
Connie, give her credit.
Shawnee. I'm sorry, it says Facebook user. So I'll just remember that Facebook user is Shawnee. But that's similar. Like it's no sex. And then once you get married, it's like, oh, everything's supposed to just fall into place, especially when it comes to sex. And a lot of times it just doesn't.
Amen. This is true. Sorry, I'm sending the invite
That's okay.
to the Holy Pam.
The Holy Pam.
Yeah. No, yeah, and hold on. There's like a flip in the church at some point where the conversation goes from you need to stay away from boys to present yourself as a woman of God so that you can find a husband and be a good wife. Oh, and Bishop Zena would know.
Wait a minute. There is a flip in the church at some point where the conversation goes from you need to stay away from boys to present yourself as a woman of God so that you can find a husband and be a good wife. Oh yeah. Like I think that we went so far into, preserving purity and, offering your body as a sacrifice. Like all of that is definitely true. But I think that we went so far into it that when we get into a place where we're married and we're supposed to be able to act on things that we naturally feel the way that we were designed and do things we were designed to do, it's like we don't know how to do it. And so I guess like when I think about it, it's like, is it the church's fault, but like I wonder like how the training should be when it comes to the church and versus our family. But I know that for a lot of us, especially in Black culture, a lot of that is intertwined. So, oh, there we go. Ah,
What up,
Pam,
Pam? What's up?
Hey, I said I
how
was
are
gonna
you?
get on here tonight too.
No.
No,
You're not here. I'm
can't
very
stay away.
interested. So I guess same question for you. Like, just kind of tell us your experience. How, if it did, how would it like affected your marriage, affected your view on marriage? If you want to share, where you are in your marriage or whatever, that's fine. And how what you did or didn't learn like affected you. I'm gonna mute my mic so you can preach.
Oh my God. Okay, that's a lot to unpack. Um, man. Okay, first of all, so I'm divorced. Um, and we started our marriage a little bit non-traditional. We had already had kids. We weren't as active and involved in church when we got married. So we did not do premarital counseling. We wanted to, but I'm not sure what happened that we didn't do it. Um, so that's that. As far as my experience with the church, I felt like we were taught how to not have sex, um, and what to avoid when we were doing dating, but we weren't given effective, practical steps on how to keep yourself, how to date as a young Christian adult. And at that time, when I was learning that kind of stuff, I was already kind of wilding out, anyways. So I had a different viewpoint for what I was being told in church. My parents didn't really kind of like go into depth about dating while being a Christian, but I don't know, it was just different for me. I just don't feel like the church really truly prepares us for marriage as well as that we can be. I feel like they teach us that we need to stay together. That marriage is a blessing from God, that is looked upon, but we don't teach people how to be single, how to date, how to be married, how to stay married. That it's okay not to desire marriage. We always pushing people to be married, but some people don't want that. Some people don't want the family and the kids, and it's okay. And a lot of times the church does not um, give all those viewpoints, and it's unfortunate. So I'm at the point where if I get married again, I get married again. If I don't, I don't. I'm not sure if I desire marriage again. And it's not because I had a bad marriage, it's just because I just don't feel like that's something for me right now.
Mhm.
So the church just didn't fully prepare me for marriage like I thought marriage was going to be. We often think about the happy times and it's going to be my best friend, it's going to be great, but we don't see the ugly side of marriage. They don't teach us that portion of it, how to survive those hard times, who you can trust and talk
Exactly.
to in those hard times. Like they don't teach that
Exactly.
stuff. So it was different.
I agree with that. Definitely, we definitely don't get a light into the, like you said, the dark side of it. Like between the fights and some of the bickering, and then like if you have family things that are going on, you know what I mean? Like we don't get taught that, so we don't know how to maneuver through it. And like Steven said, you just pray everything away.
Yeah, I have a question about that I actually want to ask Dukes, but the Bishop Shawnee has just rolled on here,
Hello, happy Friday.
and we all ready to be slain in the spirit. So I'm gonna let her go ahead and tell her truth. That'll be me shouting in the background if you hear that.
I just want to salute each you guys. This is such a platform. What you guys are doing, I commend you all, especially during a pandemic. We
Thank
see
you.
marriages are just disintegrating. Just man. So, but anyway, by the grace of God, you guys are here. Again, my experience as you guys were sharing, all facts. Was married 18 years. Same scenario as the young man was saying, how the church does not prepare you for for marriage. I believe this is just my own opinion. I believe that it's not the end as is it Siobhan? Beautiful. I always say beautiful. As you were saying,
Siobhan.
yeah, they don't they to me in total agreement with you're not really, it's not preparing, it's not the end all for most women. I believe in the church it's always like you got get married, but this is just again my my how I feel. An individual needs to be whole first, be prepared, especially for women, not looking for the man to be the end all and all. You follow what I'm
Yep.
saying? um
Yep.
Also, as far as the sex, the physical aspect of it, if you're getting married, and I believe my ex, we actually it's crazy because we like like best of friends now. Like we nickname each other, "What's up, Suge?" I'm Suge, he should, And so we crack jokes. He like, yeah, I said, "You gonna come to my wedding?" He like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be the first one to stand up." Like, ain't nothing going on. But anyway, I say all that to say, our testimony is pretty much like you guys because we grew up in church together, in Sunday school together. And it was like, yeah, you got to get married before you burn. That was the thing because we was, so that, it was like, no, we got to hurry up and do this. So, I mean, and in that, the Bible do say it's better to marry than to burn, but at the same time, it's that's just one piece. The sex is just one piece, and I believe I can speak for both the male, for the man, and for the woman because that's just the physical part. You follow what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
and us, and that was our story. We got married on the contingent of we don't want to keep doing this, and then my thing is this: from a woman's standpoint, that's not going to keep your husband. I don't care. You mean you can be the most beautiful woman in the world. You know how to drop it like it's hot. You know all of that. But at the end of the day, that's not the glue. And so I believe the goal in marriage is oneness. And just also, I want to say this to both the male and the female, to celebrate your singleness, because in the Bible, Paul said it's better if you remain single. But if you cannot, as far as enjoying your singlehood, and when you're together, and not and as you said, Siobhan, not shun it, not saying no, don't get married, because it's a beautiful thing. However, that shouldn't be an individual's end goal. You follow what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And in my experience, just learning that it's oneness, it's sacrificial. When you think of love, love is sacrificial. It's not about I fell in love. Who falls in love? You follow what I'm saying? Me and him
Mm-hmm.
had children outside of, I had a kid when he got married, when we got married, and he had a kid. So the whole aspect of blended family, baby mama drama, all of that, is not unpacked in premarital counseling. So
Mm.
um in that, and I will say, in being married, it's a beautiful thing, not not taking anything from marriage. It's a beautiful thing when it's in Christ, and when you can be, first of all, one another's, I can't stress this enough, one another's confidant, one another's best friend. And we all adults in here, man. I mean, we gonna just keep it 100 as far as
Go ahead.
I don't like when you hit it from the back. Maybe we can do a different, just these kind of conversations, like what's being creative, like, what do you like? What do he like? What do she like? Let's and it's not a chore. It shouldn't be chore. It shouldn't be okay, we're gonna put this on we're gonna plan this out. I'm just talking about the physical now. I'm just being transparent, and he wouldn't mind me sharing it either. But anyway, on that level, on the physical aspect, you think about before you guys got married. I think about me and my ex. It was like, man, that's what that the spontaneous, the I mean, and just not in that part, but it just like what led to that. That's the physical is, after the deposits being put in. I like to use it as money. You making deposits, so that deposit may look like, we went for a walk on the lakefront, or your boy Dre, he ran, man, he spit these bars to me, and I just was like, ooh, just whatever that meant. But that's real talk. It wasn't okay, babe. We got to grocery shop. No, it wasn't a part of the program. It was just like, man, I love him. He loves me, and this is where we are. And we love Christ. We love Jesus. You follow what I'm saying? And when you keep it, not complicating things, going by a marriage book, and when I say been to every conference, was the prayer, what was it, the power of praying wife, the power of praying, 5 love languages, boundaries in marriage, I done it, read it. And in the end, it comes to the two individuals being selfless, being considerate of one another needs. And just as he brought out, just certain things like, okay, he may blow, is that a problem if, he getting high, well, it's just it's the small things. I would say this, it's the small things that can create can turn into a
A
big
big thing. Yeah.
big problem. And I saw a post earlier, like, this is the thing that, and I'm like, this is so true, like that, why I cheat. I don't know if somebody posted it, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
somebody,
posted and rated him. Yeah.
shout out to Esso.
that's so, man,
Let's not.
I'm telling on myself, like, that was me. It's something like, man, this how you playing your boy, or vice versa, so um just being each
Oh, I got a question.
yeah, being each other's best friend. And yeah, and just if I can say anything, I think that is the key. Like, she shouldn't have, oh, this is my girl, I tell her, and he shouldn't have. No, you all should be one another, like, confidant. I can
Right.
him about anything. He can come to me, and know that what I share with when either one share one another is not being brought up in the prayer meet. It's not being brought up with the guys, like, yeah, we bad. No,
It's not being brought up in the prayer meeting.
and that
I hope
that
not.
become a problem, because when you guys reconcile, they looking like, man, bro or sis. I thought, and so I mean, and I'm only speaking from my own experience, because now, like, now we best friends. You follow what I'm saying? And yeah, it's a lot. It's very selfless, and I would encourage uh the couple just to continue to have, when I say your own individuality, especially to my sisters, don't lose that, man. Keeping your, as I see you, Siobhan, keeping yourself together. I was an at-home mom, stayed at home while he worked, and it was like, homeschool, PTA, head of the PTA, running Freestyle Friday. That was, and you guys, it's funny now because it was like those Fridays, we would be like, oh, that's when it go down. Like, I'm like, and then he get on the stage like, welcome to, I'm like, yo, you so bogus. But you just never know what goes on, behind
Right.
closed doors, and you gotta always know that, behind the scene, who's the enemy? Satan is. So it's a picture. When you have the idea like my marriage is a picture of Christ, so in the back of your mind, he or she is not the enemy. So Satan is like, man, how can I put Jesus on blast? How can I make this Jesus look like a lie? I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna just tear this down. And so when you realize who your enemy is, not watering down whatever the situation, the circumstance is, then it's like, okay, we gonna team up. It's as far as husband and wife, when we gonna handle this thing together. So
Quick question. I got a question. Because I wasn't gonna bring sex up at all, but the ladies in the comments, y'all keep bringing it up. So
man,
we gonna talk about it. Look at that, dudes. God don't made a way, brother.
bring it up.
So okay. Let me ask one question before we get into that, because that's gonna be, I feel like, gonna be a longer conversation. So is there a difference between the way, when we read the Bible, the way we see God has constructed marriage and the way the church presents marriage? Is there a difference, or is it just one and the same? Because marriage is a godly construct. Like, that's where we get it from. Like, I don't think nobody was getting married before then, because there's no reason to. So is there, and I would like to start with Dukes, and then I'll be interested to see what Siobhan had to say after the great Duke, because you all try to argue with me, but you can't argue with Dukes because he is eloquent.
I can, but go ahead.
Do you guys think,
Right.
is there a difference between like the way God, just strictly Bible, not the way your pastor preached it or your family, the way God institutes marriage? Is that something to like go for, or is it kind of all one and the same?
So I think the short answer for me is I think that they're two different things, and I think that they're probably really far from each other now because there's so much culturalism like that's been added to, like God's word is always filtered through the lens of your own experience, right? So for most of us, the real Bible for our marriages is our parents or the lack thereof, whatever their relationships look like, that's what they model, or your church culture or your friend circle. So like there are certain things that I model based on like if my parents sat and ate dinner together, then in my marriage, I think that husband and wife supposed to sit and eat dinner together. Like, and that could just be a cultural thing. So the short version I would say is that I think that they're probably really different, and that's probably a great opportunity for us as people. Like if we really kind of dig in and try to figure out what God's version of marriage for each of us individually, because I also think it would look different for my wife and I, because we're different people than Dre and Siobhan, and that you might have just stumbled onto something like, man, what if we dug in and just tried to figure out what God's version of marriage for my wife and I really looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, brother. All right, Siobhan. Hold on. Let me give you the big picture. It's on you.
Oh my gosh. Don't do that. Take it off the big picture because I want to see everybody.
I got you.
Y'all pray for me hard. So like when I think about like how the church has like this idea of marriage, and then I think strictly about the Bible, I do see some differences. Like you and I have talked about like when Paul writes about, the bridegroom and like who we are in relationship to Christ, and how that like how that's a mirror for marriage and the intimacy. I don't know if some of those things are stressed as much. Like the husbands love your wives, Well, how do you love, like Stephen said, how do you love your wife? Like, do you love what she loves? Like, what do you give her to make her feel love? And then the same way, excuse me, wives, respect your husbands and submit to them as Christ submitted to the church. Like,
Pain.
what this,
Go ahead.
huh? Right. Like,
Pain.
we want to preach the top part of the scripture, but like the bottom part, we just kind of cut out. And we do that with a lot of stuff. Like, the Bible definitely says, wives, submit to your husbands. Well, what does that look like? Like, what is that? Does it mean that he walks all over me? No, but there isn't a lot of talking in submitting to your spouse. And then Dre has brought this up multiple times where, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Well, what did he do for the church? He died.
Yeah, but I also think what Duke said is important. Like, it looks, for me, that's how I interpret it.
Right.
So for me, it's like, because even when I like talk to guys about this, and Siobhan's been there, I say sort of jokingly and sort of not, like, bro, when you get married, your life is over. Like, and then so I mentioned this to
I don't know
Duke's
why he
actually
keeps
last.
saying that.
Well, no, listen, it's true, but
Don't do that, Stephen.
in times of honest, it's true.
Wait a
But
minute, Dre. Can I jump in,
yeah,
please?
yeah.
So, just for all the ladies watching this show, I just, this is one of those unwritten guy code things. But for
Where's your
most
wife?
guys, upstairs, I would tell her to come down here, and I'll say it in front of her too. So I'm sure she don't see this. But one of the things for men, when you get married, our lives typically end. That's the way we see it. And for women, typically you see it as the beginning. Because for a man, we usually look at it as, all right, I'm getting married, so I gotta stop doing this. I can't just spend money like I want to. I gotta, and there's all obviously tons of value to being married, but we see it as more of an ending than a beginning. And most guys, if they're honest, would say that that's how they feel. That's why guys say, "Oh, I'm gonna settle down now," because it's like, "Oh, I'm done doing what I want to do, so now I can give the rest of my life to somebody else." Just
That's
wanted to
why
throw
we wear,
that in.
that's why we wear a suit, because it's our funeral. But a thing that Duke said, a thing that Duke said last night that was really good was that, like, it is the end of our life. I mean, it's the end of my life, but it is the beginning of our life.
Right.
So, ladies, you get Duke the credit for that, because I ain't saying that. It's over, fellas. If you single, you watching this, get ready, brother. Make all your last calls. Your life is over. Ain't no more people Xbox, bro. They hate the Xbox. They hate it. It made their skin crawl, bro. I don't know why. Okay, but anyway, but no, I definitely think that, like, diving into that is important, because when I look at marriage and I see, like, the way God describes it, and then I look at how we're taught in a lot of our churches, is different. And as usual, like, culture kind of rules the day. And I think another important thing that he said that I think we can do better, just as church in general, is being okay with the way Shani and her husband see him loving her like Christ loves the church, and her being submissive. It may look totally different for Deuce and his wife, but we can both still love God and both not have the validity of our faith question, or being called conservative, or what's the opposite of conservative? That
Liberal.
Yeah, liberal. Like, oh, they're liberal. Just excuse them. Like, if Dukes and his wife think it's okay to, if they have a bottle of wine in their refrigerator every week and they drinking empty every week, if they not going out being drunk and like cussing people and just doing crazy stuff, if they just drink and then get it popping in the privacy of their own home, they're not less or more Christian than Siobhan now, who might not ever drink at all. And it has to be okay. And I think sometimes the church was like, no, it looks like this.
Yeah.
So, and I think a lot of times, even in dating, we do that. Dating looks like this. You don't date, you court. Where for a lot of people, they need to date 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different people Because when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, and honestly, for most guys, even when you like in your early 20s, you don't know what you want yet.
Mm-hmm.
You have no clue. So, but I have, and I only have this one playbook. Like, is she a Christian? Do we agree that Christ died for the church and these major doctrines? Like, what if we never talk about it and I'm praying one day and she just busts out speaking in tongues? Like, what do I do? Like, and that's not something I know or something I believe in or something I don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't even, I just feel like as a church, we don't even talk, we just want to get you to the marriage line. Like, that's the goal, and that's it. You know, and yeah, I definitely think like a good thing for us as believers is just to like, well, even if you're not a believer and you're just curious about where marriage started at and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's like look at what God said. Don't look at like what church people say. And I'm saying this as a leader of a church, like
Mm-hmm.
because at the end of the day, you don't stand in front of me and like
Yeah.
you know my kid, like your kids aren't gonna look at me to be like what happened. Like they're gonna look at you if you
Right.
get divorced or if you just in a miserable marriage, which a lot of guys are. There are a lot of, and I'm not saying women aren't. I'm just repping the guys. That
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of husbands suffering in silence because they hate the life that they're living, but they have no choice because according to the church people around them, and they love God and want to please God, and according to the people around them who love God, it's like that's just you just gotta suffer. Like as long as your wife and kids are happy, that's your happiness. That's how you're happy. Or now getting jumping to the intimacy part, like you know, if you're not going back to the picture that a post that Shawnee was talking about earlier, like almost every person I know, I know pastors that watch porn
Oh,
because
okay. That's
they go through such a drought with their wives and they don't want to cheat. So that's the only middle ground that they found.
let
Like,
me just can I just jump in on that really to my
mhm.
to my sisters and to my brothers too. When I say that is so like it's so common right now. This is to all my sisters on the line. When I say it's very prevalent and this is years man, my heart is just really burdened in the air and not because I love my sisters and my brothers, but ladies, I cannot stress that enough. When the spouse, because when we, I'm just speaking from my own experience, and now because they feel like, well, I'm not, I know I'm jumping because it's really a burden to Mac because that was the whole picture of why the whole does it. Let me say this because at the end of the day, it's still a choice. It's still a choice that the guy made or even the wife made, but in most situations, it is the male. But I say that with the porn, the deception is that it's still adultery. You follow what I'm saying? It's still adultery, but yet what Dre, what you're saying, that is so prevalent. Even it's even more so now. Back then, um it was on the rise, but right now it's just like it's really sad. So again, sisters, um I'm not judging or coming at you. I don't know your story, but I'm only speaking from my experience. When your spouse, if especially if he's out in the workplace and he going to work every day and seeing uh Kim in the office, suited up, Chanel suit, red bottoms, man, be that whatever it is, especially sexual. I'm not saying be no slave or nothing like that, but be that what he needs you to be, because God said when we, if it's not except for prayer, what we
You
agreed
preaching
on.
good now, girl.
And I'm just saying, no, you know what? I ain't like yo. No, I'm tired. I've been here all day with these kids. No, that's I'm a God. God say I didn't make it up. God said it's wrong. It's sin. It's sin. And so I had to repent. I can't speak to. I'm encouraging
Cool.
you
All
all
right,
because
Shawnee, can I ask you a question real quick since you're on that subject? And Siobhan, so Duke, because Dukes and I and a lot of guys that we know talk about this all the time. So I've heard women say, I just want you to tell me like is this true? Is this not true? So I've heard women say that like when you're in church for so long, and I'm asking as a person with 2 daughters, that when you hear in church for so long, like don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex, that part of you sort of turns off. And then like when you get married, it's hard to like turn that part on for your husband.
But not
Was that
necessarily
like your
because
experience?
I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Not necessarily because you're looking at one. I grew up in the church. My mom, Sunday school teacher. His mom, Sunday. We grew up in the same Sunday school class. So, I mean, you hear that. Don't go. I mean, man, we was bogus, me and him. But we that just everything. But when I say that, you hear that. Okay, don't have sex. Wait till you get married, and you don't turn it off. It's just like, man, God made us to, he made sex for marriage to enjoyable. And it's just like somebody saying you can't have no candy, but you're like, man, I want some candy anyway. It tastes good. You follow what I'm
Right.
saying? So, and it's a choice we're making. Just like any other choice. If a person chooses to say, no, I'm not going to tell the truth, I'm a lie. So I think we put it as levels as sin is sin, but with when you sin sexually, it's like, man. And this was I'm gonna share this. I'm being very transparent with y'all tonight. This was my experience with the whole sex thing before me and him actually get married. I was over his house. He stayed in that park, had his own crib. I was young man, young 20s. And so we at the house, we got MJB, Mary J. Blige in the background. I'm all yes.
And y'all
Yes.
finna get it in and wasn't finna
Oh
be
my
depressed. I was
God.
start
We
crying.
killing it. Got the toothpick, everything, cook
Oh, God.
everything over there playing wife already. Yeah, I got his, all that. So that's what the video, it was so just like like God. So we in our own thing and so convicted, ladies. I was it handling my business. The Holy Spirit was like, I could take your life right now. I jumped up out that bed. He was like, wait. He said, where you going? I'm like, I'm out of here. I gotta go. The next
Wow.
day, and this is our testimony. Why we how we end up getting married. The Holy Spirit was like, I could take your life. I could kill you right now. Why you on top of him? Yeah, I'm telling it all, sis. Why you on top of him? I'm like, I gotta go. All left thongs hanging on the bed, everything. I'm out of there. So that's what the video. We called the next day, and I said, you know what? I said, I don't know what God, and this is, I said, I don't know what God has for you, but I can't do this. I ain't trying to, make you marry me or anything like that, but I can't do this no more because I'm scared. I fear God. You follow what I'm saying? I fear God. And with that being said, that's he took us to our childhood past and we went and sat in. I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? He like, do you love her? And he like, yeah, I love her. We want to get married. So we never had the conversation. Hear what I'm saying? We never had a conversation. We talked about it, but we didn't have a conversation on marriage. So I say that to say, as far as being young, growing up in church, hearing, and that you shouldn't be having sex. You do it because we fleshly, we
Right.
sinners saved by grace. But back going to the marriage and the pornography
That man
and
had to marry
pastors.
you because of it. Which
Yeah,
goes back
so
to an earlier conversation we was having.
yeah,
Siobhan.
so I just encourage you, ladies, man, handle your business. And
Get it popping. Let's go. We need some
I'm gonna
Christian
keep it
rock.
100,
I'm gonna say it.
keep it a
I'm gonna
buck
say
with
it.
Hey,
y'all.
Rock,
let's not.
And
Let's
rock,
not.
I'm not
Let's
shaming
not
you
get shut
guys.
down.
Now I'm not
Come on,
saying
man.
now wait a minute,
Let's not.
I'm not saying to say like just you a slave and taking advantage, but if it's not, we praying or we fasting and it's a man, it is because that's what God called both husband and wife to do, not to refrain myself from one another. And then you have the whole pornography thing. That's a whole porn just off the chain, and that's adultery in and of itself, whether the brothers know it or not. Like, you are still committing adultery. You follow what I'm saying? It's still, yeah,
Debate.
listen, it is what it is. So it's a
Game
porn.
tape. Game
Yeah,
tape. Research.
whatever. But I just say, ladies, I encourage you all, y'all, ladies and guys, love on them, sis. I know it be tired, you with the kids all day and all of that, but man, the benefits of it, and just being spontaneous. Just
That's right. Get it
and be
popping.
man,
Get
keep
off
it
this live and get it
mysterious.
popping right now.
Be mysterious.
What you say?
Get off this
Mysterious.
live and get it popping
But
right now.
yeah, I just because my
Wow.
heart is
I'm
really.
sorry. I got something to say. The rated M statistician just sent me something. It says statistically 4 out of 5 male leaders in church struggle with porn. I wonder why. Yes, Judge. Game tape. Okay, when you want to get better, you watch The Professional. You watch LeBron James. You watch Kobe.
No, sir.
Ma'am. See, this is what's wrong with the church now. Don't
Okay,
judge.
okay, wait a minute.
Don't
Let's
judge my
before
page.
we get off on that. What was the question that you wanted both of us to answer? What was your question?
Trying to stop the truth. That's okay. Oh, that's okay. I'm gonna have my day of reckoning. The
Okay.
question was as far as like, and I don't know if Archbishop Duke's in the background, the award-winning author, wants to answer. She can feel free to jump in whenever she wants to. What, as far as like, did how you learned about sex or lack thereof in the church? Do you feel like it affects your marriage? Is there like a, because I
Oh,
was
the
told,
switch.
yeah,
Right,
the
the
switch.
switch. So like everybody said, you get taught don't do it, don't do it. And even from home, you get taught don't do it. Like that, wait till you get married, blah, blah, blah. But no one's talking about it as to what it is. Like, I have no recollection of my church talking about like what sex was actually designed for. You know what I mean? Like it's beautiful expression between man and woman. And the reason we don't want you to do it is because of XYZ. You know what I mean? It was just like, don't do it. So then when you get married, it's kind of like, well, I don't even know, like, okay, let's say you don't know anything, but it's like, I don't even know how to be comfortable with myself to try to even let somebody else, try to explore with somebody else, So like there's, like we're taught so much to stay away from it that and focus on purity and just sitting there, just holding and just waiting on for your husband to come find you, that there's no conversation. Right, just because you're sitting waiting to be found, because you don't go find a husband as a good Christian girl. You just wait to be found. Like we don't, at least in a woman's perspective, we don't get taught like the beauty of sex. Sex is just like it. Oh, if it's only for marriage, and if it's not that, it's like WAP. That's all it is. It's just like there's no in between, and so we don't get taught like, oh, like when you get married, it's this beautiful expression, and maybe part of premarital counseling should be, have you thought about what you might like, and trying to unpack and explore some of this, you know what I mean? Because whether you come into the marriage a virgin or not, like you still need to figure out who you're going to be with this person on that physical level, and there's no preparation for that. So now you get here and you're sitting there in the bed and you're like, I have no idea like what to do or what I like or anything like that.
Game tape, bro. I was proven right again. Thank you, Jemima. Let's be honest.
But
But
let me say this. I don't think that porn is game tape. And I'll tell you why, because those are actors. Those are people who are hired specifically to do a specific job. And there's no way I could lift my leg that high. That's just real. Like I can't. My hip is gonna pop, it's not gonna be well, and I'm just out the game for real. Like that, like it's honesty, is truth. So like this, I'm trying to like watch this game tape, like, oh, this is what I need to do. But physically, like I can't do that. Like, and then it makes me feel like, oh, well, what's wrong with me? You've got these people on TV doing it, but nobody's telling you like, yeah, like that's actually hyped up. Like that's not 100% realistic for everybody.
I'm gonna stay on task.
That's why it's not game
No,
tape.
you're fine, and you're trying to bait me into an argument, but I'm smart.
I'm not trying to bait you, baby. I'm just
I had a
expressing my
conversation
opinion.
with my good friend Dukes. I'm not gonna fall for this crap. But
I'm not trying to bait you.
But we're gonna have an episode on game tape or not, and then I'm gonna bring all my receipts. Would the award winning
Okay.
does the award winning author slash publisher slash globetrotter slash international speaker have anything that she would like to say, or is she just spectating because she has so many other jobs? She's too tired to deal with us common people. Either way is fine.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever you want to do is absolutely fine. You know, I know you are a busy lady. We just appreciate you being present.
Right. It's not every day we got like a specialist kind of expert on here, so
No.
Oh wow. Okay.
we got to take advantage.
Well, thank you guys. You guys are so great. But no, I agree with Siobhan. Like everything she was saying was so true about how like you don't hear it. Like you don't hear about what the purpose of sex is and like in the context of marriage and how it's beautiful. You do always just hear don't have sex, don't have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was like one thing for me. It was just like you're like they're like don't have sex, don't have sex, like have the man needs to find you, all these different things, but it's just like how do you know how can you even be like the word sexy, what does that even mean? How can you be sexy? Like how do you even know what you like that's really like a area that needs to be talked about. Like when at what point if you are waiting till marriage do you figure out what you like? Is it like when you get married? So like at the beginning stages of your marriage, you're like trying to figure it out. And then how do you figure it out? What do you do? Do you figure it out yourself or do you and your husband figure it out? Or like
Right.
what's that process? Because that's a thing. Like if you do wait, when at what point do you realize the things that you actually like or enjoy? And yes, your body changes. So what you may like at the beginning, you may not like
Right.
it a few years later, right? That's okay. But understanding like the initial, it's always like your husband's like, what do you want? I want to, like, but it's like, what if you don't know what you want? Like that, that's an honest answer. But what do you do with that? So those questions I feel like would be nice to it would be nice if they could get figured out. Like at what point do you learn what you like? At what point do you kind of does it switch? Is it when you're engaged? Maybe that's when your conversations switch. So the
Right.
conversations that they have with you in church switch because now you're engaged. So let's now start talking about sex and for preparation for that and all that stuff. Or is it like just when you get married? I don't know. I really don't know, but I feel like that's something that we have to figure out because that is an issue. Like you can wait all you want, but when it's time for the nitty gritty, like now you have to be ready, and it's like ready for what? You don't even know. So
It's like I don't know what to do. Don't call me
exactly,
in, coach. Don't call me in.
yes,
And,
it's such a thing.
and I think
Because
I would say for context, I mean, we don't mind sharing our testimony. We out here anyway. Like Jan and I did not have sex before we got married at all, and Jana was a virgin when we got married.
Amen.
So like
Amen.
it's the ideal testimony, but then it also presents all these quandaries because it's like, okay, now you guys are married and you've waited your whole life to be able to have sex with somebody. Go for it. And like there's all
What do
these
we do?
again, what do you do? What's okay? And then like to Dre's point, like you'd be surprised the advice we've got from people. Some people do say, well, maybe you need to watch a movie or something to give you some
Wow.
Some
ideas.
ideas.
And so like I know Dre's been being comical about that, but that's a real thing. But then what happens to you as a man? Like what we do know, Siobhan, to your point is like if I'm watching TV, whatever they're showing on TV is not real. Like it's never that easy. Like whatever that
Right.
is, it's not. So, but then where is the real conversation about what it really looks like, feels like, should be like, and where is the space where you get to have that conversation someplace where it's safe?
Yeah.
Because again, like there isn't the church itself, and I don't necessarily know that I blame them. Maybe that's a family cultural thing that's supposed to happen. Like maybe that's a mother to daughter, father to son conversation
Right.
because our families are broken. Maybe we're missing it there. But at
Mhm.
some point, we got to be able to have somebody tell the guys and girls, like, okay, especially now we're married. Now what?
Yeah. That's right.
I want to say with the whole the watch a movie and the point, you actually, I know for me when I was coming up, my mom, which is she was like, one thing I can say, she was very transparent when it came to sex. It wasn't just not have sex, but she, her testimony, because she had me at an early age, and so just very, she was always transparent with my sister and I about, and my brothers, I'm not going to put you on birth control, and the reason why, and her testimony, and I love my mom for that. But with the point, my point I want to make with that is to guys and to the young ladies, because it's so common now in the body of Christ. You ask yourself, is would Jesus be comfortable with me watching this? Man, Jesus, yeah, that's a nice movie. How am I? Let's not just for a fact, like I'm not even married or anything like that. It's just myself. Or one can say as a single person, well, I'm not having sex, but I'm, into porn. So that can lead to so many doors. Masturbation, because it's sex. It's sex. The person having sex by themselves. Is that yes? Because God said that He made it for husband and wife, and so now it goes back to who's being fulfilled here. It's a selfishness, and so with that being said, as far as the pornography for the young man, for the wife, or for the husband. Now we're comparing, because we know, or you guys know, men are visual. So now you have these images, and just as Siobhan is not is deceiving. It's very deceptive. You have these images, and it's like you're trying to, be intimate as a husband and wife, and the images are playing back in your head. So I mean, it's a no brainer. This that's a no brainer.
Well,
No, I
I
got you.
think I think we can all agree with you there, but the question is, so
Mhm.
where do we get the information from?
As far as so
What, like, as far as,
as,
like, what do you do when you get
what do you do?
married? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, so
I think that it's really I agree with you wholeheartedly that like it
Mhm,
shouldn't come from porn. The question is, and I
mhm,
think the place where we're missing is where should we get the information from?
mhm, mhm.
No, yeah, I agree.
I feel like that kind of leads us into our announcement.
It does. So, would you like to go ahead and read? I announced it at the beginning, but if you want to
That's what
read,
I
would you?
Yeah. So, like, Stephen, nothing. I was gonna say, yeah. I forgot you did. But like, Stephen, I agree. Like, there's no place to like, there was no place for you guys to go. Like, let's say when you first got married, and it's like, all right, it's supposed to feel good, and this is not, like, something's not working. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who do you go talk
Yes,
to? Like,
that's
who?
good.
Like, for real? Like, who do you talk to? And, like, like, and people are gonna say, well, maybe you should watch a movie and figure it out. Um, I agree that there's no space. I think that, like Dre announced it earlier, we are having a special episode next week, shameless plug, with a Christian sexologist. Her name is Brittany Brodus, and you can kind of check her out uh, over the course of this next week at the Intimacy Firm. And we talked about intimacy with her and just what things look like. And I think that the information that she has is so extremely valuable. And she comes from this really unique place in talking about sex in such a positive and spiritual way, in a way I've never ever heard it before. I was
Yeah.
legit like, girl, just take me, just with you everywhere, and let's just talk.
But let
Yes.
me
I
Okay.
let me
think
Gas
just say,
I
station,
feel like
grocery store, let's just go.
yes. I
but
felt
but
like
Sorry,
let
the
me
same
say
thing I
this.
was thinking.
we have a resource that someone in the comments put up. She said this was a book that a pastor actually recommended for her to read, and I'm thinking it's good. It's called Proper Sex for Spouses. Doesn't sound very sexy, honestly, but it may work.
Right.
It may,
Right.
it may work. So if while you all talking, I will see if I can like find it on Google and just put the link in the thing in case somebody, any of us or somebody who watches in the future may wanna grab it.
I know you guys are really familiar with Jackie Hill and Brother Perry.
Oh, Jackie Hill Perry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Jackie Hill Perry. Her and her, they had a good podcast on. He really dealt heavy on pornography, and this is just, I think this would be a good resource as well. Just showing pretty much what Dre was talking about, how a lot of the guys, the husbands were struggling. Even some single Christian brothers were struggling with abstaining, and yet it was being had got caught up in porn. And he and Jackie, very powerful testimony on how that was a situation in their marriage and how they conquered it together, and it just very transparent, a very practical things that you were sharing, Siobhan, in terms of like the the beauty of sex, and um a lot of times what we're introduced to at it with the pornography, they just share. I'm not going to tell it all, but it's definitely, man.
What's the name of the
It's on their
podcast?
podcast. I'm not. And when I get it, I'll send it to you guys. But it really blessed me. It's off the chain. They did
Okay.
it about maybe a month ago. Yep.
Okay. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Like we need to make a safe space, and that's one of the reasons for make Rated M. But we need to make a safe space for people to be able to talk about like the real stuff that's going on. And I just
Absolutely.
encourage everybody to definitely watch next week because I call her the sexpert. She's not a doctor yet, but I call her oh, there it is. The intimacy firm is in the comments. I call her the
Yeah,
sexpert,
so
but I would
yeah.
definitely encourage everybody to watch it because it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I put the link to her. I couldn't find the book, but I put the link to the latest website that we're talking about, the industry firm. And you can find like her Instagram and all that. And she's a believer. I think one of
Yes.
the times we talked, she had like a conference with women, walking them through biblically why it's okay to have oral sex with your husband and things of that. So it's not like you just gotta pray, they gotta which
Yeah, she gives
is I
details,
think
and I need details.
yeah, and it gives like accountability. And so I guess one thing I would say, even though it's kind of a is I think one good thing maybe just like exploring with your partner. Like if you want to find out what you like, because some people I'm assumed are skilled in different areas and some people aren't. But no, yeah. So I guess I like to be solution based on the show. So I think what I would like to leave with is even if it's I don't know, I'm not there yet. Um, I think it's also important to be open minded and have honest conversations with your partner about sex. Did you enjoy it? What did you like or not like, etc. I agree with that, and I know I'll speak for
Yes.
myself. A lot of guys, me and a lot of guys, don't necessarily like that aspect because most guys like spontaneous. Like I don't want to plan. Like, can you squeeze 30 minutes in between two meetings for your boy? Like we don't like to do that a lot of times, but I think a lot of times, like especially if you're new and exploring that, like it's important to have those conversations. Like, did you like it? Was it good? Was my stroke game trash? Like, I always be trying to LeBron it. Did I just lay it up? Like, what do you like? What do you like? You know what I'm saying? But I definitely think like just exploring and asking your partner what they like, and then just doing research. Not saying game
Doing
film.
some research and trying new things. Yeah.
Apparently, game film is not for everybody, or what everybody thinks is game film. But Google is a thing. We Google everything else, and then I got one request for all the men around the world, and you ain't got to ask your husband if you're watching this, because we all know it. Can y'all stop? Can you be the same pretty woman that you are at work, and not turn into like looking like my male cousin when you come to work? Keep them lashes on. Don't come to bed with your bonnet. If I wanted to bang Harriet Tubman, God would have had
Bro.
born in slavery. Them days is over. I don't want to sleep with Tupac. I'm good. Leave your bandanas and them little Cheeto twirly things you got. Go on, brush your teeth before bed now. Please. Please,
Pam said, "No, you gonna get this do-rag."
And see,
I'm just saying, you don't understand, like rolling around what that does to my hair.
no, you don't understand.
You want to look at
I don't want to.
like
I don't want to reach
so much
over.
work.
I don't
Man,
want to reach over and grab your head and it feel like one of the guys. I don't want to like. I don't want to think like, oh man, my nigga gonna do that. Like I'm good. Like, can y'all please come to bed the same way y'all go to church, the same way y'all go to work. All right, put that perfume on. Like, don't. You know what I'm saying? I know you've been outside. Don't smell like you've been outside. Like just come and just like, here, take it. You want it so bad, here you go. I know nobody want that. That's like the lunch lady that used to get the keys out her bra. Don't nobody want that food.
Oh my god.
Pam said, "Bro, I'm bald." We both one of the guys.
Hey, I'm saying, hey, it's some dudes that want to touch that bald scalp. That's all. Bedtime is prayer time for, and that's the problem right there.
So do it earlier.
Why
Do it
can't you?
earlier.
What'd you say?
So have sex earlier. That honestly might save people's marriages. Have sex earlier. Like it is a thing because to be able to look good.
What do you
the
mean by
next day,
earlier?
like
How early?
earlier in the day. Like don't wait until it's time to go to bed to be like, oh, let's have sex. Like have sex earlier. Be spontaneous. Do it in the middle of the day. Come home for lunch. Have sex then. Okay, you're dressed. You're pretty. You know what I mean? Like that's a better time. I just feel like as you're going to bed, like your hair, like the next day, if you don't do something to your hair the night before, like the next
Who
day,
did it and why?
exactly, and it's such a big issue. Like seriously, I mean, I can even be saying for me, like I'm learning to do this natural hair. It is a doozy. I'm like, oh my god, it's crazy. So I'm like, let
You ain't gotta do
alone just
natural hair.
trying to
You
make
ain't
it
gotta
look
do natural
good.
hair.
Like that's
Dukes
such a
will buy
thing.
you whatever hair you need to get it popping. Dukes don't care. Every husband watching it is like, I will spend a bag on that horse. You would get the highest grade horse hair that you could find. You ain't gotta be natural.
So for real, ladies, let me help all the ladies watching this. I will say this on behalf of every husband. If we could smash more often, but the catch was we had to pay for you to go to the beauty shop to get your hair done more often, guess what we'll do? Stay and work that overtime so that you can go to the beauty shop and get your hair done. If that's what this is about, we will put the wig on. We don't mind.
Data's a goat. Yes, that's what I'm saying. But I like what you said. Don't wait tonight. Get it popping.
Yeah, start earlier. Like that, honestly, that will probably make a huge difference too.
Yeah, I think so okay. I don't mean this to be offensive, but let me ask this question because we joked on here about the box smelling like hot dog water. Do women like
No.
because there's no honest way for a man to say it. You can't, Siobhan, you've heard this, don't act shocked.
I know, but I haven't heard this live all on the internet. Like you said that.
So let me give some don't be dumb, Blue. Let me give some context to what I'm saying.
Okay.
Before I get canceled. Okay. So
right.
We were having a conversation about honesty. And you know, because I won't say women. Couples always say it's important to be honest in bed about what you like and don't like. But I'll speak from my personal experience and every other guy that I know. If I'm only having sex 4 times a month, and when my wife, God bless her soul, not saying this is true, let me put that out there. Mm-hmm. If my wife takes her pants off and then it starts smelling like Maxwell Street, there's no honest way for me to say, because a guy just, it's so dry, we just gonna take it. Like, I'll just hold my breath and do the best I can before I pass out.
I mean, that's terrible because that could be other things. But
no, I'm not saying who's fault it is.
No,
it could be a variety of issues.
No, that could be like other things because the vagina it's not an isolated thing. There are so many things connected to it. But I'm saying, like, when it comes to honesty, I would not want you to walk around and be thinking that and not tell me. Like, is it gonna be hurtful? Probably. But like, it's probably one of those conversations you need to have, like, all right, babe, like, don't get mad. I'm just trying to be honest and communicate.
No, Pam.
You know, like,
no, Pam. No. Ain't no take no shower. I don't want to get up and take no shower. It's slippery, it's weird. I'm good. But my thing is, you smell it. We both in this room.
Or even like, even if it's like, if there's something that you don't enjoy, whether it be a smell, a taste, or whatever, if it's anything, a feeling that you don't enjoy, like, your marriage has to be a place where that can be said respectfully and in love.
No, I got you. So I guess obviously that's an extreme example. I don't know nobody who's walking around with Portillos in their pants. Let me say that. I speak highly for all the women on this chat.
He said Portillo's.
But so how do you, I guess, what is a way for you to be honest with your spouse in a very sensitive area without of- offending them? So let me say the spiritual side, the holy side of me wants to say without offending them. And then the man side of me wants to say without getting penalized, because you know how women are. So next time he get in the mood, hey baby, turn that music on. You better turn that music off. You don't want no Portillos. You said it was like Maxwell Street. I bet that's the last time you get some Maxwell Street. You know how y'all be. So what is a good way for you to bring that up and do something for
Just
your
hi, Jana.
Wait. No.
Just
I'm learning how to be good on the internet. Like if it was us in person, this would be a different conversation. But I think Dre, to add to your question, and for the people in the comments too, when should we have this conversation is super important too. Like,
timing is everything.
am I telling you right now? Like when we about to do it, do I need to wait till later on? Like when am I saying this to you? Because Dre mentioned something earlier, like there's sometimes where men suffer in silence. And then also, I would just say like women, because I get the feeling that y'all want us to not say it right in the moment. But y'all will be so quick to tell us to get up and go brush our teeth or do whatever else y'all need for y'all to be comfortable. So just remember that while you're thinking through when you want us to say what we got to say. Now go for it.
Okay, wait. So, dude,
Okay.
hold on. Let me ask, because I know. Okay, so, dudes, let me ask you a question. As a man, if there's an issue that your wife has, when do you, as a man, when do you want her to tell you, and how?
Right, instantly tell me right
In the
then.
moment,
Absolutely.
in the moment of,
Put that thing back up and
steam.
go.
Yeah, tell me to go get myself together and come back, like, because I just want you to enjoy it. So, like, I'm okay with that.
Okay, so I can't speak for everybody. I think that you say that, and that's cool because your personality type says, don't make me big screen. Because your personality says like, hey, just tell me whatever, and we can work on it. Like somebody else's personality may not be that way. So while I'm trying to give constructive criticism, like, hey babe, this is off, and I don't like it, as saying it in the moment can feel really demeaning. And I think that's where you have to know your spouse. Like, I wouldn't want that said to me in the moment. I feel like that's a conversation. Like, is it a hard conversation? Yes, but that's part of marriage, is having hard, necessary conversations. Like, hey babe, last time that things got a little steamy, this and this and this was unenjoyable for me.
It got real steamy.
Stop it. But I think it's just being open, and maybe like saying, hey, this is a conversation that's about to come with a disclaimer. Like, I don't want you to be offended. I'm just trying to be open and honest with you. I don't love you any less. Like, I just want to be honest, because maybe that person doesn't know.
Right.
That could be a thing too. But I like, for me, I would not want that done in the moment. And so maybe, Stephen, like you like tell me right then, stop me. Like other people are like, nah, don't stop me. Cause it's just because the way that you take it in the moment may not be as well received, or like your good heart behind it may not show.
So can that be said without being penalized? Because I think that's a lot of guys' trepidation, is like, if it's scarce already and then I complain, it's gonna get more scarce.
Right.
So Shawnee, okay, you're just a different woman than Siobhan. So when would you want to be told, and how would you want to be told?
Well, I agree with Siobhan because in the like in it, the conversation go a whole nother way. Um,
I'm gonna need y'all to stop agreeing with Siobhan.
timing. No, it's real talk. Timing is everything. And women, we words. Words are words of encouragement, and I think the timing is everything. I wouldn't.
I agree.
No.
So can we get a time? Can y'all give us a little more insight? It sounds like we're on to something, but like we need a.
So
So how and when should we say it then?
so
Maybe.
let's say Monday night, things get steamy, and then you realize something's off, right? Monday night that happens. Maybe like Tuesday night, Wednesday, like, hey babe, I've been thinking about this. And maybe it's in the car, or maybe it's during a time where you're doing something together. It's not like, hey, I need to talk to you, because that also may come off aggressive or whatever. But like, I don't think you should let too much time pass, but just like, hey babe, like, I'm just being honest. I don't want you to feel no kind of way. I love you. You're my king, you're my queen, you're my whatever. Like, the sandwich method: compliment, issue, compliment. As lame as it sounds, it really does kind of work.
Yeah,
At least for me.
it offsets it. It
It
does.
does. It does. Because your partner not coming to you saying, this was terrible. When we did that Monday, that was terrible, bro. Like, because that doesn't make your partner feel better. Maybe your partner's like, oh dang, like I didn't realize that was an issue for them. So let me work on fixing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, and just speaking the truth in love. But just, you should be able to be honest, and if
Okay.
and no, you shouldn't be penalized. And if you're on the receiving end of that, no, you shouldn't penalize, like, oh, why they say this and this and that. You shouldn't be penalized. You shouldn't penalize your partner for being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Award winner,
You
what do you think?
No, I mean, I agree with that. I just feel like that's a perfect time. Like, wait a day, maybe the next day, that would be nice. Maybe pillow talk, like when you guys are just like chilling,
okay,
talking.
pillow talk.
That might be another good time where you're just like talking, like just make it a general statement. I do like the idea of compliment, deal with the issue, compliment, because I feel like that would kind of make it a little easier. Even like suggestions of, like, hey, take a shower right when you take a shower when you get home, when you get home from work, or something like that. Like, maybe take 2 showers a day, because that might help. Just like little things to just help out. Like, there's all these natural sprays and stuff you can use. Like, try stuff. I mean,
So
Right. And then to men, like, the vagina, the box is like I said, it's not an isolated thing. There are so many things that could be affecting you. Like,
Yeah,
if you
it's
go back to your
2021. They got
specific
products for
thing.
that.
so
They got
so
products for that.
but here's the thing, ladies. This is also, I think, a missed opportunity for the church. Like, where is the support structure system between the women in the church and the newly married or been married for a while, to be like, do you guys get a chance to talk over this stuff with each other? Because I feel like it
No.
there's a lot of value in sisters being able to share with each other, hey, like, this is a situation I'm in, like, what can I do, and being able to exchange like ideas, concepts.
I
yeah.
agree. I think it happens. I don't think it happens as a formal thing. Like, I was part of a girl chat a couple of weeks ago where it was about 8 or 9 of us, and we talked about, I mean, we were particularly talking about sex, but we were all married, and just talking about, like, just our journey in marriage, and stuff, and things that weren't working. And so it was like, hey girl, try this, try that. Like, hey, you said you feel this kind of pain or whatever, look into XYZ. And so, like, that was like 8 of us. That's not a formal, that's not a thing in church.
Yeah.
Well, Siobhan, I think this is your new ministry, so get on
So
to it.
actually,
Right.
now that you mention it, now you actually mention it, I was doing a girl chat with some other ladies, and so it technically wasn't underrated M, but I'd like to bring it that way. Um I just want to clear some things with some people before I like dive and say, hey y'all, guess what we doing? But yeah, I'll have some more information coming about that because it was so good. And I feel like there needs to be one for men too.
No,
Like
yeah, I'm
there
doing
needs
one
to
for
be
guys.
one for
Yeah,
men where like
for
we
her.
need a space to talk to other married people
Yeah.
and just get really vulnerable and just lay it all out with no judgment and only support.
Yes.
Absolutely
No,
agree.
I think that's good. I think we'll do private, maybe private ones on here that we can kind of pre-record and the group women, if there's something that you want to put out, you can put it out. But I think it's good to have it so even if it's only goes to those members, so you can kind of look back and kind of rehash, what was talked about or whatever. But I definitely think groups are good because I think there's a lot of things that us guys that we kind of talk about anyway, but maybe having a bigger group. But yeah, no, I definitely think that's a space. That's something we want to do on Rated M is to be able to have those difficult conversations and hopefully, hopefully help somebody out. I do have a question, and we can say this for another time if we need to. But something I don't remember who said it. Actually, no, never mind. I'll say that for another. That'll be another week. I'll bring that up.
You sure?
But no, I think yeah, because this will turn into like another hour or something. People got stuff to do. So, and I think it's just a whole nother. It sort of ties into game tape type things. But no, yeah, I think it's good. So I definitely think what I've gotten from the conversation. I was gonna ask. Dang, I was gonna try another question. Oh, are we allowed to give pointers? So let's say Monday night happens and it's bad, or something doesn't work. Can I say, hey, something about the P? I don't know a nice way to say it smells bad. Like I don't know how to. I can't even think of an example. So can you? Okay, if there's an issue of something, because I feel like that's insensitive. That's the equivalent of telling the man he has small jams. So one, if it's a sensitive issue like
So
that,
how do you tell your husband that?
how can a husband how can a husband articulate that? And then two, can I say like, hey, how about what's it called? Dush, cush, mush, what's it called?
You
When
don't.
no, don't
Yeah,
do. But that's what I'm
it's
saying.
not.
Like,
But it's not. That's not good.
Yeah.
what do we like? What do I say? Like, do I just be like,
I think you can just be honest. Like I
but can
said,
I make a
just be
suggestion?
honest and be loving. Like, hey, like, and be specific with the problem. Because if you say, hey, babe, something wasn't right, well, it's like, well, what wasn't right? Like, especially maybe if it's something that the spouse you're talking to doesn't know. So, like, was it the taste was off, the smell was off? Like, what is it?
So I think maybe just something I've learned about communication in general. And again, I've only been married 5 years, so I am really figuring this out along the way, like everybody else. I would just say some good advice for fellas is that sometimes, like if you start with the question, it's easier to say what you really want to say. So, for example, you could start with, "Sweetheart, are you feeling okay? Like, is everything okay?" And then because there may be like some type of illness or pH balance might be off or something else might be going on that's causing.
pH balance is a real thing. Yeah,
And so like you can ask like,
it's a real
hey,
thing.
are you feeling okay? Okay. And then the next level may be, so I have a really sensitive smell palette, like, and there seems to be something going on. Are you noticing it too?
Thank you. That helped me because I couldn't. Yeah.
I think that's a great. I think that's a great way to approach a lot of things that might be difficult to talk about.
Yeah.
To start it with a question.
So is that an effective way to like approach it, ladies? Be like, hey, are you feeling okay? Not like I said it, like Duke said it, because I'm gonna say it busts out.
Yeah, my personality is like, yeah, I'm fine. What do you want? My personality is like, don't come at me with the circling around the bush. Just get to it. What do you want? That's my personality.
You say that, but if I'm like, but I feel like that contradicts what you the advice that you gave though.
No, I'm saying like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, oh, don't come at me softly. I'm saying like my personality type is, am I okay? Yeah. Okay, why are you asking me? Like I'm just gonna say what are you trying to get to?
Okay.
Like that's what I mean. I don't mean like don't come at me softly. I'm just saying my personality type says, why are you asking me that?
But you know what, Andre, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that if that's the response, because at least she would be acknowledging in her mind that I am trying to tread lightly to get to something. Like that I'm trying to get to something, and that's got to give me a few points just that I'm kind of treading lightly.
Okay. I know what they're pulling off, but can I get a single person in here? I would love to hear a single person's perspective who's not married, who's like, I don't know if looking to get married is the right. I don't want to offend nobody, but I have one person I want to at least try to invite and just get their quick perspective on the whole thing, not the sex part, but.
Do you feel church adequately prepared you?
Yeah, because this person in the church, and I would just kind of like to know. I also want to do one of these episodes with singles to just get their perspective on like. I don't know what I haven't been in the dating scene in like 11 years, 12 years, so I have no clue of like, you know what I mean, since I met you, girl.
Because it's been more than 11.
Oh yeah, well yeah. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what is dating like now as you're single? Black excellence, check your inbox. But like, what is dating like now? Like, what are churches teaching? How do you feel as a single? I'm just really curious to kind of find out. I also like to do an episode. It's cool with all the married folks where we get married people and single people together. And just kind of have these conversations and be like, hey, bro, your life is over. Or girl, your life is just beginning, or however that.
The fact that you say your life is over.
Luke, never mind. I won't answer that now. That's okay. We all know.
But no, like you said, like it's like his life just by himself is over.
Black excellence.
Now he and Jana are
we started a new life.
That's right. See, look at that.
Yes.
This is all
this is done.
This is
a new beginning.
Anyone who knew Duke, the man used to have dreads.
Okay, come on, don't put that out there. Don't say it like
he used to have dreads and now it's over. There's only one reason he did that.
But that but that was a great choice.
Says the master to the slave. Oh, you picked cotton today. That was a great choice. Great choice. Shirt and sheets around here. Good job, son. Wow.
It was a good choice. It was time. No, it was time.
This is not relevant to what we're talking about. We move on.
That's so
Black
funny.
Excellence, how are you doing?
Black Excellence.
How are you doing? Are you here?
I mean, okay, how are you? Oh, hey.
So
we was trying to call you.
Oh. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, Siobhan, so maybe you can answer. Y'all feel a certain type of way when I ask questions, so maybe you can.
No, what do you want me to ask specifically? Are we going back to the original topic of the conversation?
Yeah. Just her opinion on marriage. She's single.
Okay, so not everybody here, hardly anybody here knows this, but Blue and I actually grew up in the same church. So our question is, do you feel like our church specific we lost her.
And then we'll do everybody. We'll try to get everybody to mute when they're not talking, so we can eliminate echoes and weird noises and things like that. But it doesn't matter because she's gone. So
I know we lost her.
maybe that's a sign from the Lord. This has happened to me this morning, and I
Hey,
did it
but you
Maybe
know
thinking
so.
what?
it went
You
bad.
can ask in the interim. You can ask Janet the question because she missed that part. So maybe she can be your placeholder until she comes back on.
Okay,
Okay,
so
Jana,
Jana,
as a single holy girl. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forgot. It's me. Go ahead, Sharon.
people aren't offended just because it's you. It's just the way you troll when you ask
Yeah.
questions.
No, I'm
Um,
not trolling. Y'all
do
just
you
racist.
feel so? Our original question is: do you feel like the church adequately prepared you for marriage? And we got Stephen's opinion because he told us y'all did premarital counseling. But just like growing up, do you feel like the church adequately prepared you for marriage?
Um, Not fully. What it did do for me though was show me that people do make it. Like there's a lot of I like really saw good men, like good husbands, good fathers. I definitely was able to see that. Um I saw like wives being friends together and couples doing relationships with each other. That was a big
Okay.
thing for our church. So like I was able to see that part about like, everybody being married. And I had, even though my father died when I was young, like I still had friends who had parents who were married still, and so to be over their houses all the time, I was able to really be able to like learn from them and see how they did their marriage. And everybody's marriages were different, but like everybody still stayed married, and so
Yeah.
that was a good way for me to be able to at least see the different dynamics in marriage. Um, I didn't always see like I didn't know all the details. I didn't hear about that. Those conversations never were had, But I was able to at least see healthy marriages that last. And I'm sure everybody, as I grew up, I learned the problems and the issues and all that stuff that I didn't know when I was younger. But at the same time, knowing the issues now and not really realizing that there were so many issues before, like that's a testament in itself, because it was like
Oh yeah.
they had stuff happen in their marriages, but they stayed together and like they're still together, you know what I mean? So to me, I was able to at least see examples of healthy marriages um, growing up. I just didn't know all the
Awesome.
nitty gritty details. Like
Right.
a lot of pieces that weren't shared with me, or I never got a chance to have those conversations with. But at the same time, I did see it. I saw good marriages.
Okay. I think that is great. You can ask Black Excellence the question.
Same question. She on your side. She 313. So you can go ahead and ask, and then I know you got
Oh
to
my
handle some business.
God.
No. So I was saying earlier that Blue and I grew up in the same church. And so my question is, do you feel like the church, one, adequately prepares for marriage? I know you're not married. And in being single, do you feel like there is a space for single people like that isn't like, okay, the end goal is just get married? Like instead of like celebrating or just having a healthy lifestyle as a single, like I feel like the push in church is always, all right, the end goal is get married. And if you're not married, how do we get you there? I mean, we don't tell you how to stay married, but like what are your thoughts on that?
Um, that's a good question. I feel like in my experience, I don't think they necessarily prepare you. Like you said, it's just a push to, God, has a spouse for you, or he that finds a wife. And, it was always that. Nobody never really push the fact of enjoy your singleness, get to know you first, get to know what your purpose in life is, get yourself together. It wasn't necessarily that. And me coming from a household that wasn't necessarily fully married with a lot of, you know, children out of wedlock and everything, so I never really knew marriage like that. um but as far as the church, I don't think they did prepare us, to be honest. And like I heard one of the ladies say that they don't necessarily say anything. You don't really know the issues. You know, you feel like everybody's just all happy go lucky. And then you might find out like they divorced. And you're like, what? What happened? I thought everything was going good, but nobody wants to talk about the marital issues that go on. So I think that's really important now, and I'm glad that people are realizing it now and helping out, especially younger couples. I feel like that's very important because that's giving us a head start, basically. So, but yeah, I feel like the church is doing better now as far as recognizing that, yeah, there are issues in marriage. Everybody doesn't need to get married right away. Get yourself together. So I'm glad that they're realizing that now. But yeah, I think they did just not push it as much. They just like get married and follow God and that's it. Like that's not all that happens.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you a question. So, do you look to the church to kind of like is church what you look to as an example, or church people or whatever? Is that who you look to as an example for marriage, or like, for lack of a better term, like an authority of marriage, or do you like, or why not? Let me say that.
Um, that's a good question. Never thought about that. um, I want to say yes because that's your guidance. You know, you want to make sure you follow what needs to be followed, what you're supposed to do, you know, as far as that. But it's also difficult because, like I said, nobody really wants to talk about what goes on in marriage. Nobody wants to mention everything. I mean, there's going to be days where, you know, you might want to give up. It's going to be days where it's going to be really hard. Nobody speaks of that. So, I mean, yeah, you want to look at, you know, godly people. You want to look at people that go to church, look up to couples, which I do. But at the same time, like I said, again, all of those couples aren't happy all the time. You know, everything is not perfect. And I feel like a lot of couples don't put that out there enough. And I think they should. Not saying you are gonna sit up here and get divorced or separated, but just let them know like it's not easy at all. So, yeah.
Here comes the good doctor. I'm waiting for one of the questions to pop up. Go ahead, brother.
You know what? That question is such an interesting thought. So I think I can be honest. I don't know that I ever witnessed a couple in church that I wanted to model. Like I don't know that I ever saw that. And not that I didn't have couples that were very happily married that seemed happy and seemed to love each other. But I'm if I'm honest, I probably don't I can say that I don't ever remember seeing a relationship where the love or the way that they interacted with each other was something that I wanted for myself. And so like that's kind of I don't know that I think there's probably something wrong there. And I don't blame the church in general, but I'm just saying like yikes. It's just hitting me now that like probably most of what we've been trying to work our way through, we've been kind of on the island on our own, trying to find our
Yeah.
way to what resembles what we believe
Yeah.
God has for us. But I haven't seen it anywhere.
Yeah.
Let me
No. Yeah.
uh
Go ahead, Sean.
is it Blue brought out some excellent, but just like very, very good points. I believe as
Thank you.
the church, and I do agree with what he was saying, you don't want to look to any see any couple for this is what ideal couple I want to be like, anything like that, as far as just looking to, looking to Christ, how he treats us, and how we interact our relationship with Christ. But I do want to say I believe the church has did such a disservice on the married married here and single here. Just the classifying. So like if you're single status, you're single, and then even in the church, being even in church, at my own church where I was, where I was at, you would have situations like come into church, and if you're a nice, nice looking young lady, and you walk in, and they're looking at you, and then they like cuff their husband. It's man, it's just it's really
Um,
body of Christ where you look down on your sister who and it's like really like, oh, you're single and you're how old? But she's everything that she said is so on target, because the like as I shared earlier, you want to get you together, and my dad tell me this even now, like, you in the best place. You are in the best place right now, and it's no shade to someone's married, because that's what they're in the best place as well. So I think the comparison in the body of Christ, married status here, single here, but that it shouldn't be so. I think that's a big stigma that the church has did a disservice on classifying if you're single here and if you married here, because God don't see us like that. And I think that's a big disservice that a lot of the sisters in the body of Christ, that we do.
Yeah, and I think it affects men too. And this is, I guess, like my youth leader side coming out. But the reason I ask that question is because I feel like not even just dating. I think there's so many areas in our life that, like, as believers, we'll be like, yeah, I look to God, like God's my authority, who I look to like do this and that. And then you be like, okay, bet. Tell me what the Bible says about whatever area. And it's like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like sometimes we don't know. And I get like not looking to people when you want to look to God,
Mhm.
but like I don't. There's no pictures of Jesus being married, so I would assume that my understanding of the way things work is like I can't see Jesus, but I can see Dukes. And if Dukes is God's representative, then I assume that how his marriage looks is how a godly marriage is kind of supposed to look. And so I guess Blue, my last question, I think it's my last question, is like, so seeing how I ain't gonna blow your spot up. I would assume you're on the dating scene or available. Like how if there's a secret Mr. Blue out there, shout out to you. If
um,
you know, I'm just saying, I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm not saying yay or nay. If y'all watching this on the internet, look up.
okay.
But like how? So when you're dating, where does God practically, like, where does God fit in that? Like, are you checking the Bible? Like, what type of man am I supposed to date? Like, what I guess what does a godly man look like to you? And then like, where do you get your I don't know examples from? I guess for lack of a better term, in the dating, not even married, just the dating process that you're in now. Or is that something that you look for? Is it like as long as you don't burn when you walk into church, I'm good. I'll
Oh
settle.
my God. Well, to be honest, it's funny. Ever since I got in my relationship, if I do come across somebody that I like or am attracted to, I immediately be like, okay, Lord, if he from you, if this person's from you, okay. If he not, you just I don't need him. And yeah, currently I'm not. So I mean, you can clearly see that, but I guess I'm still in the process of learning what a godly man looks like for me. Because the typical, oh, does he go to church and oh, does he pray? And Like that's the surface stuff. Like I'm looking for something that goes deeper than that. And so I do ask God to kind of show me because sometimes I'm hard headed. I might see it and just be like, okay, whatever, you know. So I'm still in the process of learning what a godly man looks like or what the man that God has for me. But it's difficult because sometimes the surface stuff does get to me. If a guy can, pray, I'll be like, okay, okay. If you say he go to church, if he can quote some scripture, if he can say, but if X, Y, and Z, if he speak with a certain type of tone, I might be like, okay. But sometimes that's just not always it. I need to dig deeper, and sometimes I don't dig deeper. So I'm still learning the process.
Okay. Figuring it out. That's all good. That's all good. Dukes, I feel like you have something practical to say at this point. I may be wrong, but this seems like a practical Dukes moment. I'm not sure.
No, I mean, I just think that there's so much value to these conversations and being able to open up the floor between singles and married couples and trying to bridge the gap. And then, I'm sorry, I believe your name's Blue. If I'm messing it up, I'm sorry. I apologize. But like being around some people who are married and maybe younger or kind of in the same demographic and walking the same walk or just finish that part of the race, like us being able to all walk that out together, like there's so much value in that because like there is no one formula to finding the right person. And like, I mean, my wife and I literally dated for 3 months and got engaged and got married 8 months later, and that was 5 years ago. And it
Right,
that's been our story, and it worked great for us. But that's
right,
our story. But
right.
I do believe that there are like some commonalities where if you add this formula, at least puts you on a track to be successful. It may not, it's not 100%, but those things that we can all share. So Dre, I think that you definitely need to do I don't know, there's got to be one about, well, how do I find the right person, or how do I know that the right person has found me? What
Yeah.
like, and
That's
people
it
can
right
share
there. Yeah,
different versions of
that's
what
it.
their stories, because I feel really bad for young ladies right now because men, like, we know what to say to get to the desired end, whatever that is. So like, and if you're going to be trusting and give us opportunity, we may or may not do the right thing with your hearts. So I think there's a lot of value in that.
Okay. So I guess before we wrap for good, ladies, is there any, I don't know, 3 minute or less advice that you can give, not only Blue, but just any single women who may watch this and may see this, like how do they, who are in church, who are trying to seek God, trying to live right, like how do you navigate how did you guys navigate the waters of dating and picking your Mr. Right, or even like your Mr. Wrong that was Mr. Right for a few years? Like
Hmm.
how do you navigate that, and like, yeah, just what it, I don't know, advice. Not that you'd ask for any, Blue, because like, you a supermodel, you got this. But literally, I'm not joking, people. You can look
She
it up.
is.
But
She is.
what advice would you give her? And then we'll say Jennifer last because she's an award-winning author, so she has a lot of poetic justice to give us. So she may need a little time. So Siobhan, like, what would you tell her that you probably already have uh, about just navigating the dating waters, being an attractive, godly woman?
Um.
3 minutes or less. It's 10 o'clock.
Right. Right.
I
Okay.
want
Super
all
quick.
y'all on here that as soon as this live is over, you put what we said to practice.
All you married folks. So
Yeah, Blue, you go.
one, I think that like I forget who said it, or I heard it somewhere else. But like you have to be cool and content with you as a person, and you have to be like you have to know who you are in God before you can try to meet anybody else. Like you don't want to meet your other half. You want to meet your other whole, because you want to be a whole person before you step into a marriage. So that would be like the first thing. And then as far as like when you're trying to like navigate the dating scene as a Christian, like if you know who you are and you just stand very firm in your beliefs, like these are the things I'm not going to do, or knowing your non-negotiables, I mean, everything else from there can fly. And then, like if you meet a guy, it's like, getting to know him, like you said, beyond the surface level stuff. Like, okay, like, God. All right, well, Damon's no God. Tell me what he's done in your life. Tell me, how are you walking with him? What's he challenging you with right now? Are you serving? Like, what's your heart's desire? Like, trying to get that, and then know that for yourself as well. Like, you can't ask your husband to, I want a minister and I want somebody to lead me, blah blah blah, but you don't want to follow. You don't know what that looks like. So that would be where I would start.
All right, Shawnee,
Um,
give it that 3 minute grace.
I know. I was just encouraged. Now that I'm on the single end of the spectrum, I'm just encouraged. From a single perspective, being married and now divorced. I'm just utilizing your time wisely. I think about, for example, if I'm going out of town and I get my destination, I know where I'm going, and I got my blueprint mapped out, and get the passenger get in the car with me and like, man, so what are your plans? If their desires, if we're not heading in the same destiny, then no, your time is everything. You can't waste time, and just knowing what direction you're going in, and just start there. Just asking the individual what their goals are, and but just really just being that whole person, and being that whole person. I think of Ruth working and waiting. Yeah.
So thank you. Oh, award winner. That's right. Let's set the scene, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh
Author.
my God. Stop.
Author.
For me, like when I was dating someone in college and we dated for like 6 years, and I
Wait a
was
minute.
like,
We're not talking about no exes. You need
no, no,
to skip
no,
to
but
now.
it matters.
Please.
No, but it matters. No, it matters.
Wait a
Because
minute.
it's so true. Because it really does matter.
I wasn't prepared.
Like the type of person I was thinking that I was going to marry or that I wanted to be with was not like who God had for me. And like my idea of like the perfect life or what I actually thought was what I wanted wasn't. And so that's a big piece too. Like you have this idea in your head of like, this is the guy I like, this is the job I want him to have, this is what I want. But in the end, like that all honestly doesn't matter because it could go in a day, like it could change. But really what matters is character. Like that's a big piece. It's like the character of the man that you spend the rest of your life with. And so for me, like I had this moment like where I was like, it just a lot of bad. I was, online dating, tried something, it really didn't go well. So I was like, okay, Jesus, obviously I don't know what I want. And I was just like, and so I literally like was like, okay, I Googled what does the Bible say about a good man? And based on me Googling it, like I think it was like openbible.com or something that like had all these scriptures about what a good man was.
And you
And I
saw a picture of my boy.
and I
You saw a picture of
literally
my boy.
I literally just started like writing out a confession about like my husband, just saying like literally writing notes about what each scripture was talking about. And it was so practical. Like it honestly, believe me, like seriously, it's so practical. It's not this crazy spiritual thing, but there were just so many practical things about what a good man was. And as I started like praying that and like really like starting to figure that out, I was like, it opened my eyes to see that there were so many men around me that were good men that I wasn't even paying attention to because they weren't the ideal person that I should be with or the person that I thought that I, wanted to date or anything like that. And so because that opened up my eyes, that allowed for me now to be open to, like even like somebody approached me that I would have never even thought as an option. And it changed the whole game for me. So I just feel like for that, like, even they talk about that at Transmission, like get rid of the list, right? It really is a real thing. Like don't like, just know that character matters a lot more. Yes, you want to be attracted to your husband. That does matter. You want to be attracted. But like at the same time, like character is what's going to keep your marriage going forever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
Like
that's a
that's a
fact.
big deal. So
That's a fact.
be focused, kind of like focus on that too. Like that will open your eyes, and there might be somebody in your life right now that you don't even recognize them as somebody that's a potential, because they're just not the person you're looking at. But that it'll shift, so you never know. So that's all.
Definitely agree with that. 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Spoken like
Well,
a true professional.
I thank you everybody. As always, thank you for being transparent and open and sharing your life. I hope our prayers that these conversations bless people and kind of at least point people in the right direction. I love all you guys. I thank you. I'm gonna let you get to bed because Lord knows. Anyway, yeah, y'all. Y'all have a good night. I appreciate y'all, and please don't forget next week. I think it's super important, just for married couples who are either struggling with intimacy or even doing well and just want a refresher or a reminder. So please tune in next week. We think it'll bless your lives and bless your marriages. We love you guys. Thank you for our faithful crew who's always
Thank you
watching.
guys very much.
We appreciate y'all and hope this is blessing y'all. Thank you, Shawnee. Thank
Love
you,
you
Black
guys.
Excellence. Thank you, award winner and Bishop Dukes. Thank you to my lovely bride. Thank you to everyone. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Y'all have a good night, and we will see you next week.
See you
Take
guys.
care.
Bye bye.